Grant Cardone. Let's spend 10 minutes on this. Grant Cardone had some comments, and I have not watched this video either yet, but Grant Cardone had an opinion on how capital gains taxes is ultimately going to kill housing, which is some of the biggest talking points that she had, not only at the Democratic National Convention, but at a lot of her rally speeches. And I thought that it would be good to hear from somebody that is truly in real estate. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. If you're not a part of the Patreon, the link is in the description for the bag chasers. Let's get it.
Hey, big heads up for all you guys out there that have heard about Kamala Harris's capital gains tax and proposal to raise unrealized gains by 25%, up to 25%. Look, this is not political. I'm just giving you some information about your finances and your money. If you're in housing or you own stocks, this will destroy the middle class. Absolutely. I don't know what's going on with their administration, why they're coming up with some of these proposals, or if they even expect to really try to push them through or not. I don't know. I can tell you this as somebody that's studied tax. I have an accounting degree. I've studied tax. I've been investing in real estate and doing my best, proudly to say, to reduce my federal tax bill every year. I don't mind paying local taxes. I hate paying federal taxes. So if you are in real estate, you hate paying the IRS, you own a home, your mom, your grandmother own a home and they got equity, or you're a real estate agent or a broker or investor, I'm just going to tell you how this affects everybody, okay? Again, this is not Democrat, Republican, or whatever, so I know a lot of you guys out there hate Donald Trump. But do you hate him so much that you would pay $200,000 extra to the federal government to sell your house? Like this election, you guys really need to look at your money and your finances. America's at a critical point. We're probably in more economic trouble than I've ever seen this country in my lifetime. I'm 66 years old, so I've seen a few cycles now. And again, this is not me trying to get you to vote for anybody, but people should take a better look at their finances. If she pulls this off and can increase the capital gains, I just did some math here so you know what it is. The average home in America is $440,000. You would have to increase the price of that home 50% by $208,000, almost a full 50%. Would have to go from 440 to 648 for you to make the same amount of money. So you would have to take your house that's $440,000, average price of a home in this country is $440,000, and they would immediately all go to $648,000 if every seller said, I want to make a certain amount of money on my house. Why? Because I've been investing in this house my whole life. It's the only investment I have. I'm ready to retire and I want to make my profit, and I don't want to share half of it with the government. It's not fair to somebody that just sold yesterday and didn't have this capital gains problem. By the way, they just passed this in Canada. It wasn't 45% capital gains, so it was 64%.
For all of the people that live in Canada, y'all give me some insight on what the hell is happening in Canada. Is Canada taxing like that? You know me, I got to do my research. Canada is taxing like that? Hold on. I did not know that that's true. Why would anybody live in Canada? Why would anybody in their right minds live in Canada? I'm just curious. I'm genuinely curious. Why would anybody live in Canada? Currently, you pay tax on 50% of your capital gains, no matter what your total gains are. That's half. That's half. As of June 2025, 2024, June 25th, 2024, however, you will be taxed on 50% of your annual capital gains up to $250,000. For any capital gains over $250,000, that ratio increased to 2/3 or approximately 66.7. Oh, they are taking 2/3. They will take 2/3. You only get to keep 1/3 of what you've actually worked for and profited. And so you took all of the risks. They get all of the rewards. Why would Canadians vote this in? Why would Canadians vote this? Why would Canadians do this to themselves? Oh my God, Jesus. Well, we can cross Canada off the list. I don't know why Drake is over there. Drake need to excommunicate himself from there. I don't know why anybody would go over there. I don't know why anybody, nobody, and I mean nobody should be over in Canada with the capital gains taxes that they over there instilling on y'all. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. That's crazy. That is insane. That is insane. And if we are going the same way, I'm already plotting my escape. I ain't even going to cap.
So this can happen in this country, and they're threatening to do it. Okay, now this is what happens. If they pull this off, the average home goes from 440, you real estate agents, real estate brokers, and investors, and immediately the price of that house, if they're a builder, a seller, they've owned a house for a while, and they want to sell their house, they're going to take that up to 648. Well, the average mortgage in this country today is unaffordable for most families. We have the lowest mortgage applications since 1996. 30 years ago, we had 70 million fewer people that lived in America. Not counting the illegal immigrants, probably 11 to 15 million illegals that they're proposing in California. This is how crazy this is getting. California is proposing that they give 2 million illegal immigrants no money down loans on a home, and they won't give that to you guys in California. Okay? So let me just stay on track here. First, the price of the home goes up $248. Second, rich people that own a home be like, fucking, I ain't gonna sell my house. I'll just keep it and turn it into a rental. Third, the people that want to buy a house don't have to pay $440 anymore. They're gonna have to pay $640, and their mortgage is gonna go from $3,000. We can't even get anybody approved on a mortgage today. Okay, the mortgage goes from $3,000 to $4,300 overnight before HOA, before property taxes, before maintenance. Okay, before.
How many times can you tax a dollar? I think a lot of people need a basic finance course before they can truly understand what's happening. Before you guys sign up to do something that's not going to be in your best interest. Let me break it down for you. Okay, so let's say you go to work every day and you're a W-2 employee, like most of us are, and you get taxes taken out of your check, right? So depending on how much money you make, that is the determining factor for how much you get taken out in taxes. But either way, that dollar gets taxed. It gets taxed. Whatever the rate is, the dollar gets taxed. And then the dollar is distributed to Ukraine, is given to some single baby mama that don't want to go to work every day. Whatever it is, it's going to get taxed, okay? So that dollar gets taxed. And then you take the rest of the dollar that's left and you go grocery shopping and you pay 6% sales tax on that. And you may pay a tax or a fee on this and that, depending on what it is that you're going, okay? And then the rest of what's left from that gets invested, right, into the market or real estate because you're paying your mortgage and you're paying all of this. And then if you make any money off of the money that was already taxed that's reinvested in whatever it is that you're trying to go to, that then gets taxed again. Ultimately, all of the money goes back to the federal government. Everything that you're doing, you're basically paying for the privilege of living in America, because the dollar continuously gets taxed until all of it comes back into the federal government to all obviously then control how it is that you spend your money on a regular basis. I don't think y'all really paying attention to what I'm saying here. The dollar is going to continuously get retaxed and retaxed and retaxed until eventually it all goes to the federal government, which then keeps you enslaved and allows for you to keep working, which is one of the reasons no matter how much money you make, you're always feeling like you're behind. The only time that they give us a tax break is when they incentivizing us to put more money in the economy by spending money, which is one of the reasons why we get write-offs. So that they can what? Make more money in taxes.
PMI, is it PMI? Yeah, PMI, which is a 2% charge on your loan amount by the banks to insure their mortgage that they gave you. your down payment goes up, your payment goes up, your interest payment goes up, your taxes on the property go up. And when you sell it, let's say one day you want to make, let's say you bought the house for $648, held on to it, and you get to sell it for $1,048,000, your 400 grand, this is the worst part of it. Your 400 grand profit that you finally made on this house, maybe paid the house off, and then 20 years from now, you go to sell the house to make your profit, half of that's going to go to the federal government.
And that's highway robbery, in my opinion. That is diabolical, and it is straight up stone cold highway robbery. You make all of this investment into this house, which is not even written off as a tax expense. Remember, and this is why you can't look at the house that you live in as an investment. A lot of people store the wealth in it. A lot of people truly don't understand it. But to just break it down very simply from a C student's perspective, and this is some of the stuff that I want to break down to y'all as far as how you should look at real estate as an investment. You can't look at the home that you live in as an investment. Let me say it again for the people in the back. You don't get it. If you're not a part of the Patreon, if you're not a part of Stock Club, then you ultimately going to miss out what's going on when I'm starting to go into this. You cannot look at the house that you live in as an investment. You can't. It's impossible, because the equity that you then gain into the house, you're ultimately going to be paying capital gains taxes on it, but you're not able to write off the expenses that go along with it. So in a traditional business, I'm going to just do it real simple for y'all. In a traditional business, let's say I go and open up a brick and mortar store or a brick and mortar restaurant. Everything that's associated with that is an expense which is written off as a business expense. So let's say, for example, I go and open up this store. I got $100,000. I spent $100,000 on that store, but my store ultimately makes $110,000 total. That means that I only have to pay taxes on $10,000 because I invested $100,000 and it cost me $100,000 in expenses. On a very basic level, if I invest $100,000 or I got expenses of $100,000, and then I make $110,000, that's my gross margins, you have to subtract 100. They can only tax me on 10. And that's where the write-offs come from. I'm incentivized to invest in my business, to have more employees, to buy company cars, to, go and take this flight in order to secure more business over here or whatever. Whatever the business expense that's tied to your business in particular. I am a content creator. So when I go and buy a new camera, that is a business expense. When I get this iPad Pro that I'm writing all of my notes on, when I get this new soundboard and I get more microphones and, I get this Stream Deck and I get a new computer and all of the rent that's associated with this business, this is what it takes in order for me to run this business, which means that the money that I get has to subtract from that. When I go and take a flight and I create content in Miami and I want to go and do some content, I do a Patreon meetup over there, I have to write off the total cost of it because it is 100% a business expense. My security that I bring with me when I'm going out of town, my assistants that I bring with me when I'm going out of town, all of these things are business expenses. My editor that I pay for, these lights that I have, anything that's associated with making sure that the business runs, I can write it off as a business expense. I'm incentivized to do so. Why am I incentivized to do so? Because A, it helps me make more money, which ultimately the government wants more taxes and they want more money circulating inside of the economy. And then B, it reduces my taxes. So if I make $100,000, but I have $88,000 in expenses, I only have to pay taxes on $12,000. Conversely, when you go to work every day and you go and get your W-2, by default, you automatically get money taken out of your taxes. So when we say that it's important for you to open up a business, this is the reason why. This is how the rich ultimately make more money, because they don't care about how much money they make. They care about their net worth. The value of my business, the value of my investments, the value of my real estate is what substantiates what it is that I make when it comes to, or what it is that my wealth really is. People that have resources don't care about what they make. It's not about what you take. It's about what your net worth is. Your net worth substantiates what value you have, because I can ultimately borrow against that. When I borrow money against it, then what happens is I don't have to pay the taxes on the money that I borrow. I'm not going to give y'all a masterclass today. I'm just going to give y'all the general idea of why this makes sense for business owners. Conversely, when you go to work every day and you get taxes taken out of your paycheck, you won't be able to live the life that I live because you don't have the same expenses that I have that's associated with my business. So what you do is when you start to kill small businesses or you start to kill businesses in general, what they do is they take their money overseas and they go and invest it in other places. Why? Because it's no longer conducive and I no longer have incentives to do business inside of America. So when you see these democratic policies, all they're doing is killing the middle class, and they're killing America, and they're killing the incentive for me to be able to offer somebody else a high paying job. That's why you see Oakland dead. That's why you see Chicago fumbling. That's why you see all of this money going into things that's not going to be conducive for the environment. So when I'm breaking this down for you guys, I'm giving it to you from real life experience, and I try to break it down from a C-student's perspective, which is why you need to be an informed voter. If you are not financially literate, and I'm not just talking about you doing your budget every day, if you're not financially literate, what Trump's tax cuts, for example, did, right? Because a lot of people say he's giving it to his rich buddies. No, he gave it to them. So what he did was he incentivized companies to stop doing business and keeping profits overseas, bring it back to the Americas. Then it be taxed at a lower tax rate, and they can incentivize each other by creating more American jobs. That's why you had record job growth during the Trump administration and more businesses building factories here in the United States of America, because he understands partnerships instead of trying to tax your way to death. That will never be a way to be able to keep wealth within America. And what they're basically trying to propose to you on the Democratic side is additional taxes, and they think that they're going to tax their way out of their problems when they over there giving $165 million permanent housing to homeless people over there in California to the tune of $600,000 per unit. And so if I work my whole life and y'all go and y'all do these houses, let's go back to the original masterclass, right? Real estate. You go in and you can't look at your house as an investment because you don't have the same incentives to invest in your house, and you cannot write off the same things. I can write off all of these things from my business. If I have a real estate property as an investment because I don't live in it and I rent it out, everything that's associated with that property is written off as a business expense. Conversely, you that live in your house, you're not writing off the maintenance and the updates and the upkeep and the roof and the property taxes and the PMI and all of this stuff that y'all being taxed on. So you're not truly looking at it as a business investment. You're looking at it as a home that you live in. When you go to sell that home, you're not profiting because A, you already paid for that home 3 times over, and the interest alone and what it is that you're giving over to the banks. B, you're not taking into consideration the upgrade and the upkeep of the home itself. C, property taxes continue to go up. D, you're not really writing off anything that's associated with the home except for whatever the interest is that you paid on a property tax. Like you're losing 10 times over. You're wondering why you're not able to give generational wealth. You own the home, but you don't own anything because the minute that you sell it, or if you try to pass it down to somebody, they're going to take it because they can't even afford to pay the taxes on it. And y'all think that y'all so smart. You think that you over here really running it up. You think that you're doing the thing that's in your best interest by voting for somebody that's going to take anything away from you that you ever get in order to give it to people that ain't ever worked for it. You think that this makes sense for you. And so you look at this market and oh my God, I need to buy a home. At this point, if this ever goes through, it's more important for you to look at other avenues to build wealth than ever to get into real estate in the first place. And I'm just telling you the truth. It's more incentive for you to get into other avenues in order to protect your wealth than to ever get into real estate in the first place, because it is going to tax you. It literally is going to kill the housing market altogether. Everybody gonna suffer. Everybody going to suffer.
Now, I know a lot of you guys don't like what's going on politically right now. There's a lot of rhetoric. There's noise. Freaking people angry, division. Don't worry about all that. Don't vote your politics. Vote your finances. If you're a real estate agent or a broker, share this with your friends because it'll decimate your ability to sell a house and make a brokerage fee. If you're an investor in real estate, you're buying real estate, you want to buy as much as you can right now, because what's going to happen is private owners like myself, okay, and that have long-term capital, we have investors that will invest for long periods of time, these assets won't be traded again. So you'll have this massive
because you have no incentive to sell it because you know you're going to be taxed to death. So the only thing you're going to do is keep it forever, and then we become a nation of renters. That's basically what he's telling y'all from a C-student's perspective.
Shortage. Now, this is going to be good for the BlackRocks and the institutions and guys that think like me, because we'll just own assets. Okay, put long-term debt on them, pay the debt down over long periods of time, and go back to the bank over and over and over again and pull proceeds out that are never taxed.
They never
because
tax.
that's excluded in her.
Oh, Anton, how does that work? How do they never get taxed? This is the reason why we say that the rich borrow against their assets regardless of how much money that they make and what their net worth is. Because I don't have to pay taxes on money that's borrowed. That's why we care more about our net worth than actual having cash. That's why you go to work every day and pay your taxes to the federal government. And then I legally make sure that I don't, because if I ever pull any money out of it, I'm absolutely using that against whatever it is that I own and the net worth that I have in order to continue to acquire more assets and to live the life that I really want to live. That's the difference. When Mark Zuckerberg borrows money, he's not borrowing money because he needs the money. He's a billionaire. When he borrows money to go and buy something that he wants, he's not borrowing money because he needs it or because he's getting he's borrowing it because it's cheaper for him to actually pay the interest on the loan than it is for him to pay the taxes, the capital gains taxes, or the taxes that come along with pulling his money out of the equity of whatever it is his compensation is. That's why rich people, and that's why CEOs negotiate a very, very low, some of them even have a very, very low base salary, and then they have all of their assets coming in equity because A, they believe in the company, B, they can leverage that equity in order to pull money out so that they can pay less in taxes. They'd rather pay the interest than paying the taxes. It's the only reason they borrow money. It's the only reason that they borrow money. They don't need the money. When you see them take out loans, it's not because they need the money. They borrowing it because they don't, A, have to pay the taxes on the money that they borrow against, and B, the interest rate is much lower than if they had to pull the money out in an equity and then pay it in cash. And that's the difference. That's the separation between the Dave Ramseys and the other people. Dave Ramsey don't believe in debt because he fundamentally just don't want to ever be tied to obligations as far as what banks are requiring from him. Rich people, which I'm not saying that Dave Ramsey is not rich, because he absolutely has phenomenal advice for younger people and for people that's just trying to get to the starting line. But when you start to acquire a certain level of net worth, you're not willing to give it all to the federal government when you work your butt off. You're not willing to give it all to the federal government when you work your butt off. But I digress. I don't want to keep going into this.
Bill. Okay, hope this helps. Share it with your friends.
All right, shout out to Grant Cardone. I think that was a phenomenal way to leapfrog into a greater conversation. Hopefully you guys follow along. Hopefully y'all are part of the bag chasers, because the goal is to keep as much money. The goal is to keep as much money as possible. It's not just about making it, it's how you keep it. Once you start getting to the bag, we got to show you how to keep the bag. All right, that's where the real goal is.